Some crimes erupt in the heat of a single moment. Others are born quietly and grow in the dark for years, watered by pain, fear, and the need for justice. This is the story of Emily Carson, a girl forced into an unthinkable marriage at just 19 years old, to her own stepfather. A man more than 40 years her senior. For 10 years, she lived by his rules. Smiling in public. Obeying in private. Waiting. Watching. And then, she struck. This is not just the story of abuse. It's the story of a slow, calculated revenge. One that took a full decade to unfold. A warning, what you're about to hear is deeply unsettling. In the late 1990s, the Westbrook household stood like many others in their quiet Midwestern town. Neighbors knew Harold Westbrook as a respected small business owner, the man with the firm handshake and the well-kept lawn. But inside his home, Harold's word was law. It was in that house that a young Emily Carson grew up after her mother, Linda, married Harold when Emily was just 12. At first, Harold seemed like the stable father figure Linda had always wanted for her daughter. But Emily would later say, she felt his eyes linger on her too long, even back then. Linda's health began to deteriorate soon after the marriage, migraines, fatigue, and a creeping depression. She withdrew from social life, leaving Harold in complete control of the household. Emily's friends noticed she stopped coming to parties. Stopped laughing. Her diary, later recovered by investigators, described feeling watched at all times and like my life is already planned for me. When Linda died suddenly from what was ruled natural causes, the community rallied around Harold and his stepdaughter. But behind closed doors, he was already laying the groundwork for something far darker. Just 3 months after the funeral, Harold sat Emily down at the kitchen table. He didn't ask her to marry him. He told her she would. Emily was 19. Harold was 62. She had no savings. No family left. No escape. The power imbalance was absolute. And so, she said yes. The ceremony was small. Neighbors whispered, but no one spoke out. Emily's face in the wedding photos is almost expressionless, her eyes looking past the camera, like she's already somewhere else. And in a way, she was. Even on that day, Emily would later say, she was already keeping a secret, a seed of an idea that would take 10 years to bloom. Emily's life became a script Harold wrote for her, meals prepared to his liking, public appearances on his arm, and total financial dependency. He controlled everything, from the clothes she wore to the people she spoke to. Behind closed doors, the control turned to verbal humiliation, and at times, violence. But Harold underestimated his young wife. Emily began quietly documenting photos of bruises, audio recordings of arguments. She wasn't ready to use them yet, but she would be. In her rare moments alone, Emily reconnected with an old-school friend. That friend became her lifeline, a safe place to vent, and later, a silent partner in her plan. Emily began studying, not romance, not fashion, but law enforcement procedure. She read about fraud investigations, asset forfeiture, and the way paper trails can destroy a man's empire. It was then she learned Harold's business wasn't entirely clean. He underreported income. Signed contracts under aliases. And in Emily's mind, a path began to take shape. Over the next 10 years, Emily played the role perfectly, the quiet, obedient wife. She gained just enough of Harold's trust to handle occasional paperwork, pay minor bills, and manage correspondence. Every document she touched, she copied. Every suspicious transaction, she logged. And slowly, she built a separate savings account, hidden beneath layers of false names and small deposits. For 10 years, Harold thought he had her under control. For 10 years, she was building the perfect trap. In his 70s now, Harold's health began to fail. Emily took charge of the household finances under the guise of helping him. But what she was really doing was moving money, creating a paper trail that tied Harold directly to every shady deal he'd ever made. In 2015, Emily made her move. Anonymously, she contacted state tax authorities, supplying them with meticulously organized evidence of Harold's fraud. She also sent an unmarked envelope to a local journalist, containing photocopies of contracts and bank transfers. Within weeks, Harold's office was raided. The man who had walked the town streets with pride was led out in handcuffs. With his assets frozen and business licenses revoked, Harold's empire collapsed. Friends vanished. His reputation, once untouchable, was gone. Emily filed for divorce, and because of the asset trail she'd prepared, Harold walked away with almost nothing. It had taken a decade, but Harold Westbrook was finally powerless. And Emily wasn't finished yet. A year later, a self-published memoir began circulating in the community, written under a pseudonym. It was a chilling, detailed account of abuse, control, and revenge. Locals recognized the story immediately. Harold read it too. And for the first time, he realized the woman he had controlled for 10 years had been dismantling his life from the inside all along. Within months of the book's release, Harold was dead. Some say it was illness. Others, that it was the humiliation that finally broke him. Emily did not attend the funeral. In her first televised interview years later, Emily sat across from the journalist who had received her anonymous package. She looked directly into the camera and said, "I didn't want him gone in a day. I wanted him to feel the walls closing in, the way I did for years." Revenge, she admitted, didn't erase the trauma. But it gave her something she had been denied for a decade: control. Emily Carson's story is as disturbing as it is compelling. It forces us to ask, when the justice system fails, what paths are left for the victim? And when those paths lead to revenge, who really wins? Some wounds fade. Others become the map we live by.